6 important threshold concepts. Mayer and Land 2003, they define it as a ways of thinking about arts that serve as the foundation for conceptualizing the discipline. So these are the 6 important concepts. The arts are meaning-making experiences. Second, arts learning is praxis-based. Third, developing arts literacies facilitates expression and communication in the arts. Fourth, creativity is at the heart of arts education. Fifth, art education is situated in culture. Lastly, arts education involves developing aesthetic sensibilities. So the first one is the arts are meaning-making experiences. Meaning-making involve analytical, distance, and discursive conceptualizations. Knowing in the arts is what Matthews 1999 calls somatic knowing. This way of knowing is embodied and involves the senses, perception, mind, body, action, and reaction. In education, it is important that children have opportunities to use all their sensory faculties, all frequencies on their sensory radio to experience and make meaning of their world. When children explore and represent experiences through art making and view their own experiences in light of contemplating the artworks of others, they are engaged in meaning making. Each child is constructing knowledge of their own sense of the world through their active participation in arts explorations. When invited to create a painting in response to a musical stimulation, each child will produce a painting, but what they paint will be uniquely their interpretation based on what they heard and what the music evoked in them. In the acts of listening and creating the painting, the child is constructing meaning, what that musical stimulation means for them. Learning is presented as opportunities to investigate and explore the world, the manifest world, the imagined world, and the worlds of ideas, emotions, beliefs, and values. Inquiry-based learning nurtures children's wonderment, curiosity, imagination, and creativity. It draws children into process of experimentation, reflection, creative thinking, and design. As children investigate and create, their understandings are refined by reflective, critical thinking about and engagement with acts around them. Second, arts learning is praxis-based. This means that learning in the arts involves embodied and lived through experiences. Embodied cognition is a growing field of cognitive science that recognizes the significance of the knowing body for acquiring knowledge and understanding. Praxis-based endeavors, the knowing, comes from the doing, and understandings that arise from the engagement simply cannot be gained any other way. For example, musicians, when asked to remember a musical composition they haven't played in a while, will work their way back to remembering by picking the notes out on the piano. The knowledge is in the body, so while much can and should be learned by studying the work of artists, composers, actors, dramaturgs, choreographers, dancers, and producers, in the end, students must engage in the practical processes such as painting and making music in order to learn. In an inquiry learning approach through praxis exemplified in contemporary arts education, the emphasis lies on art as experience on process rather than art as product. Third, developing art literacies facilitates expression and communication in the arts. The advent of digital forms of communication is having a similar powerful effect on our society and has drawn attention to the multiple ways in which we understand, critique, construct, and communicate meaning. What is becoming increasingly apparent is that arts literacy is as important as numeracy and language literacy for functioning effectively in this emerging world. To be arts literate means to be knowledgeable and able to make and communicate meaning in the various art forms, such as music or dance. Being concerned about arts literacy means being concerned about developing children's capacity to express themselves in the different art forms in increasingly sophisticated ways. Learning how to communicate in the arts is not some mysterious and impenetrable form of alchemy. We can educate children about the language of an arts area, the elements, techniques, conventions, genres, and symbol systems that are employed to make artworks. Developing arts literacy also involves knowing that each area of the arts has a rich history as well as being a unique language of shared symbol codes, conventions, and genres. Remember, when we use the term arts literacy, we don't just mean the ability to talk about artworks in an articulate way using inappropriate terminology. Being literate means being able to dance or sing or paint in convincing and skillful ways. Fourth, creativity is at the heart of arts education. Today, many societies are moving into a period where creativity is being valued very highly. This is because the ability to be inventive, innovative, think outside the square, develop new paradigms, find new solutions, think flexibly, and solve unfamiliar problems are the types of capabilities deemed necessary to meet the challenges of our rapidly changing world. All these abilities demand an inquiry-led approach that is founded on creative or imaginative thinking and design. Creativity might be explained in terms of the characteristics shared by people. We commonly believe to have creative dispositions or the characteristics of the climate in which creativity flourishes. In other cases, the stages of creative thinking process have been enumerated and the nature of creative behavior described. Creativity appears in the form of new things, invented situations, interpreted in unique ways, ingenious solutions to problems, novel ways of seeing the world, artistic expressions that bring intriguing insights, new perspective to an old situations. Costa and Kalik, 2008-2009, described the habits of mind that characterize a creative thinking disposition. These are some examples of what we see in people with creative dispositions. That tends to be curious, inquiring, observant, good at recognizing opportunities for problem solving, interested in learning through exploration, persistent in the quest for understanding, solving or inventive, able to take intellectual risk, comfortable with difference and non-conformity, playful and divergent in their approach to problems and able to suspend closure, inclined to play with ideal in their minds, accustomed to working with intuition and hunches, and lastly, intrinsically motivated. Fifth, art education is situated in culture. One of the important ways we recognize ourselves and establish how we belong is through our cultural expressions of identity such as our music, dances, and art. Forms of artistic expression develop within cultural contexts, and artistic expression in one culture will be similar to or different from artistic expression in another. By studying the artistic life of different artists and cultures, children become aware of diversity, uniqueness, particularity, commonalities, universal characteristics, rich variety of artistic expression. Exploring and promoting the diversity of cultures by examining their artistic expressions and tradition in one way of building understanding and connections between cultures and validating and enriching children's own cultural background. The arts represent rich territory for the exploration of the artworks and artistic traditions of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures and a diversity of Asian cultures. When planning to introduce the artworks from these cultures into lessons, you should be aware of the following. Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander, and Asian cultures are not monolithic. In any culture, there are contemporary art movement as well as historic or traditional forms of artistic expressions. Respect the genesis of artworks from different cultures by making sure you understand the context in which the artworks are made. Avoid mimicking art forms. Sixth, art education involves developing aesthetic sensibilities. Aesthetics is an area of philosophical inquiry concerned with the nature of art. It embraces the notion of beauty and sensory apprehension and appreciation of the world. People with well-developed aesthetic sensibilities are interested in the arts as a phenomenon in their lives and regard the arts as integral to being human. Hagaman 1990 stated that to develop aesthetic sensibilities, teachers can build on children's sense of wonder. Artistic activities that requires children's focused engagement and attention to the details of their world and the quality of their own world are a key. For teachers, development of their own aesthetic sensibility is equally important, not only in this personally beneficial, but it also enables you to teach more effectively. And that would be all. Thank you.